services because of the bias and the bigotry of the administration. The bigotry question goes both ways, and there's a lot more anti-Christian bigotry today than there is concern on the other side, and none of it gets covered by the news media.
As you can tell, the people in this room feel that Speaker Gingrich is absolutely right, and I do too. And I was in a state where the Supreme Court stepped in and said marriage is a relationship required under the Constitution for people of the same sex to be able to marry.
Isn't Mitt Romney a Mormon?
John Adams, who wrote the Constitution, would be surprised.
So if he becomes president, he's probably going to try to instill the fucking Mormon views.
They're already doing it.
Yeah, with the fucking billboards and shit.
That's why I think he might become president. Everything's conspiracy.
Was forced to step out of being able to provide adoptive services. And the state tried to find other places to help children. We have to recognize that this decision about what we call marriage has consequences goes far beyond a loving couple wanting to form a long-term relationship. That they can do within the law now. Calling it marriage creates a whole host of problems for families, for the law, for the practice of religion, for education.
Fucking bitch.
Let me say this: 3,000 years of human history shouldn't be discarded so quickly.
Governor Paul, let me have Mr. Congressman to you. You're running here in the Republican primary, but you haven't promised to support the party's nominee in November, and you refuse to rule out
this dude is
as a
sweating.
candidate if
He's
you
dripping
get
sweat.
the nomination. Why not rule that out?
That guy.
Well, I essentially have. It's just that I don't like absolutes, like I will never do something. But, no.
Never vote for a debt ceiling.
Don't interrupt me, you fucking bitch. Yeah, he just said it. Please don't interrupt me.
So, I have said it in the last go-around. I said they asked me that about 30 times. I think maybe you've asked me 4 or 5 already. And the answer is always the same. You know, no, I have no plans to do it. I don't intend to do it. And somebody pushed me a little bit hard, and they said, why don't you plan to do it? I said, I don't want to. So I have no intention. But I don't know why a person can't reserve a judgment and see how things turn out. You know, in many ways, I see the other candidates as very honorable people, but I sometimes disagree with their approach to government. And I'd like to see some changes. I want to see changes where they're talking about a little bit of a difference in foreign policy, an interest in the Federal Reserve, a change in the monetary policy. We haven't heard one minute of talk about cutting any spending. There's talk previously about cutting the military spending. That's cutting proposed increases. This is why I have proposed that we cut a whole $1 trillion the first year. If we're serious as Republicans and conservatives, we have to cut. So I want to put as much pressure on them as I can. But besides, I'm doing pretty well. You know, third wasn't too bad. I wasn't too far behind it. Doing pretty well. Catching up on Mitt every single day.
Governor Perry, do you think everyone on this stage should rule out third-party candidacy?
I think anyone on the stage is better than what we've got in place. And
fucking douchebag, fucking druggy,
this issue of gay marriage just very quickly. And it's a bigger issue, frankly. I am for a constitutional amendment that says that marriage is between a man and a woman at the federal level. But this administration's war on religion is what bothers me greatly. When we see an administration that will not defend the Marriage Act, that gives their Justice Department clear instructions to go take the ministerial exception away from our churches where that's never happened before. When we see this administration not giving money to Catholic charities for sexually trafficked individuals because they don't agree with the Catholic Church on abortion, that is a war against religion, and it's going to stop under a Perry administration.
I would like to turn now, if I can, back to foreign policy and Governor Huntsman, Afghanistan. 90,000 troops tonight, and we salute them all serving in Afghanistan. What is the earliest you think they should be brought home?
You know, we've been at the war on terror for 10 years now. We've been in Afghanistan.
The fuck is that?
I say we've got a lot to show for our efforts, and I, as president, would like to square with the American people on what we have to show for it. The Taliban is no longer in power. We've run out Al-Qaeda. They're now in sanctuaries. We've had free elections. Osama bin Laden is no longer around. We have strengthened
he's been dead a long time ago.
We've helped the military. We've helped the police. I believe it's time to come home. And I would say within the first year.
He was murdered like 6-7 years ago.
To say at the end of 2013, I would want to draw them down.
So conspiracy says.
Afghanistan for what it is. It is not a
But
counterinsurgency. I don't want to be nation building in Southwest
the girl who told the media that he was murdered 6-7 years ago, or whenever she said,
and that was supposedly
was assassinated,
maybe 10,000 troops for
murdered.
intelligence gathering, for special forces rapid response capability and training.
Governor Romney, time to come home?
Well, we want to bring our troops home as soon as we possibly can, and Governor Huntsman says the end of 2013. The president and the commanders are saying they think 2014 is a better date. We'll get a chance to see what happens over the coming year. We want to bring our troops home as soon as we possibly can, and I will, if I'm president, I will inform myself based upon the experience of the people on the ground that are leading our effort there. I want to make sure that we hand off the responsibility to an Afghan security force that is capable of maintaining the sovereignty of their nation from the Taliban. But I can tell you, I don't want to do something that would put in jeopardy much of the hard-earned success which we've had there, and I would bring our troops home as soon as we possibly can. Of course, based upon my own experience there, going there, informing myself of what's happening there, and listening to the commanders on the ground.
Governor Huntsman, you have a disagreement.
Yeah, I would have to admit that the President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief. Of course, you get input and advice from a lot of different corners of Washington, including the commanders on the ground. But we also deferred to the commanders on the ground in about 1967 during the Vietnam War, and we didn't get very good advice then. Here's what I think is around the corner in Afghanistan. I think civil war is around the corner in Afghanistan. And I don't want to be the president who invests another penny in a civil war. And I don't want to be the president who sends another man into harm's way that we don't, or we're not able to bring back alive. I say we've got something to show for our mission. Let's recognize that, and let's move on.
Speaker Garrett, do you have any quarrel with that?
Well, I think we're asking the wrong questions. Afghanistan is a tiny piece of a gigantic mess. Very dangerous. Pakistan is unstable, and they probably have between 1 and 200 nuclear weapons. Iran is actively trying to get nuclear
Wait, who has nuclear weapons?
They go out and practice closing the
Pakistan?
Straits of Hormuz, where 1 out of every 6 barrels of oil goes through every day.
Us?
And if they close the Straits of Hormuz, you have an industrial depression across the planet within 48 hours. You have the Muslim Brotherhood winning the elections in Egypt. The truth is, we don't know who's in charge in Libya. You have a region-wide crisis, which we have been mismanaging and underestimating, which is not primarily a military problem. We're not going to go in and solve Pakistan militarily. We're not going to go in and solve all these other things. Look at the rate at which Iraq is decaying. I mean, they began decaying within 24 hours of our last troops leaving. And I think we need a fundamentally new strategy for the region, comparable to what we developed to fight the Cold War. And I think it's a very big, hard, long-term problem, but it's not primarily a military problem.
Senator Santorum, would you send troops back into Iraq right now?
Well, I wouldn't right now, but what I would say is that it's right. We need someone who has a strong vision for the region, and we have not had that with this president. He has been making mistakes at every turn in Iran, in Egypt, I would argue Libya, Syria, Israel, all of these places he has made mistakes on the ground that have shown the people in that region that we are the weak horse. That is something that cannot happen because it will cause events like you're seeing in the Straits of Hormuz. There will be push. America is soft, and so they can be pushed. That's what this administration has done. They did it by withdrawing from Iraq, and as Newt just said, you want to see what's going to happen, John? If we get out of Afghanistan, let's just wait the next few weeks and months and see how things turn out when the United States isn't there, and see how consequential our efforts are where the stability of
So how long do you want to wait, Rick? How long do you want to wait?
To the security of our country is ensured. That's what the job of the commander-in-chief is. And you make that decision, not the generals. You make that decision based on an analysis of understanding how virulent the threat